Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Oraan podcast. I'm Halima, and we are here to talk about really hard conversations around money. And today we have Sabah Bano Malik, who is not only somebody who's leading content at Oraan, but also an RJ, a comedian, a model, and somebody who's recently moved to Karachi to live alone. And we are here to talk about her experience living alone in a city like Karachi and the difficulties that she's gone through to get the apartment and be financially independent. Welcome, Sabah, once
Thanks
again.
for having me once again. I love this topic.
Thank you so much for having this conversation with us. I know it is something that's very personal, but this is also a very important topic to talk about because बहुत सारी लड़कियां ऐसी होती हैं जिनको अपने घर से बाहर रहना की ज़रूरत पड़ती है, whether it is for a job or they want to just live alone. And we would love to learn a little bit about your story and your journey. कि जो आप इस्लामाबाद से जब कराची मूव हुई थी, what was that transition looking like and what were the struggles that you went through?
Oh, I really like this topic because firstly, I just want to start off by saying, a very privileged person that my family was not against the move. This is, I think, the first hurdle people have to explain that why would a daughter leave a house if not to her husband's house? Yeah. So I'm a single woman, this and that. And when the opportunity came to move to Karachi, I was like, okay, finally. Like, I have a legitimate reason because what I wanted didn't matter. It was that I needed to prove there was a reason I should be able to leave my house, honestly. And the first step was I was quite scared of the apartment hunting process. I mean, it's a very known thing, not just Pakistan, but South Asia. Yeah. That when a single woman applies to live somewhere, they just don't want you. They really don't want you. Like, our culture really, like I said, is like the girl stays in the parents' house until she marries and she goes to her husband's house. And I'll say even for single men in Karachi have a really hard time finding housing because it's like, well, stay at your parents' house and they don't trust. And, sometimes equality is fine.
But I want to stop you here and ask you this question. So when the opportunity came to move cities, the first thing in your mind was apartment hunting, or was it how will I manage my finances?
Well, first, finances, I'll say, I'm sure it would have been, but I was just in a strange situation, the pandemic, right? Yeah. So I was at home. I was not eating anything. No gas was being spent. I was literally as hermit as you can get. This is one of my first maskless conversations I would say I've had in Karachi. And because of that, I had saved up significantly. Now, what I did know financially is that moving, whatever you think it's going to cost, you better have more money saved. Like, it's 100%. Never what the price is. Yeah. It's never just your plane ticket. It's never your cargo. I mean, the minute you get into a place, you're like, oh my God. And you learn to appreciate really what family, if they're able to do it for you, what they do, because there's hidden cost to just being a person.
It's such a privilege to live at home.
At home and if you're happy and safe at home, that is a huge privilege. And I think one of the things, conversations around girls moving out of their homes, women, I should also say moving out of their homes, that people miss is the fact is that we're not always happy there, right? And this idea of independence or party karna hai or ye or wo, and it's like, nahin, bas, sukoon se rehna. Actually, I just want to wake up in peace every day. No offense to my Ami Abu, you're fine. So because I had money saved, I knew. But I was saying, had I not, maybe our conversations would have been different. I would have been like, you got to give me 6 months to save up. Because I would say, depending on your salary, 6 months is, to me, a minimum requirement of what you need on you. And I mean, emergency fund, we say 3 months, right? Yeah. So imagine doubling that because, like I said, hidden costs, this and that. And what I'd like to say is when you're a woman, there are added hidden costs. Yep. First of all,
can you explain that a little bit? What do you mean by hidden costs?
So hidden costs, what I mean is first of all, you have to think about safety. So when I'm saying money is one thing and being scared of the process, safety is a huge thing because, well, Pakistan, most countries are not safe. Let's be real. No place is really perfectly safe. But Pakistan, because of culture and societal expectations, a single woman acting on her autonomy, to me, is one of the most unsafe scenarios you
Yeah.
can be in, because the people meant to protect and serve or this and that, or, you know, look out for everyone, are already suspicious of you. Because if you're a good woman, then you're at home. So if you're any, and like I talk about this a lot in my own life, like the dichotomy of good woman, bad woman in Pakistan and what that means. And oftentimes it's very narrow what falls as a fully good woman.
And these are like good and bad like these terms have been something that the society has imposed on women based on how they're supposed to act.
Exactly. And again, it changes, right?
Yeah.
Like from home to home, it is not the same. And like even two, let's say Khada na khasta had a problem and there's two police officers right there. To them, it might even be different.
Yeah.
What does it mean? So safety is a hidden cost because it really limits where you can live if you have the privilege of picking like that, right?
Yeah.
So like I knew off the bat that I was going to have to hit my higher limit of rent because I need to feel safe. I have no family. I'm like exposing myself. I have no family in this city. So I knew that. Already hidden costs. Now, who's going to help me find that place? I got to find someone that other people trust. And that person is never going to take a lower fee, right? And like the things to keep in mind, I mean, I think we'll break it down more, but like broker fee, agent fee, this fee, that fee, there's a lot. So that was another hidden cost.
And I want to add something here, like, because the other person also knows that this is an uncommon situation, they are also thinking around the lines of how can I exploit this situation by charging a slightly more.
Just clutched my heart, because I would say, I'm going to bounce around a lot on this because I'm so hyper talking about it, but the exploitation of being a single lady girl, burger girl, let me add language barrier girl, like if it's a lot. And I have been over and over again messed with. And I know it's happening now because I've caught on. But you know, pehle se when I moved in, they were like, oh, we fixed this, this, and this. And half of it was left behind. I had to take it on my own cost. Like no one really... and they don't care because why would they? Whatever. I was the one who was dumb enough to not know everything there was to know about moving in places. And sometimes the prices they've hit me with, I'm like, okay, well, I'm alone and I can't fight this. So I'm going to pay. But lately, 5 months into Karachi, my spine has hardened a little bit and I've started pundaing right back because I'm like, no way. But they believe they can take advantage of you. Just as you said, for them, it's an opportunity.
100%.
100%. And the thing is again, like I come from a place of privilege. I never want to keep money away from someone who's obviously earned it or done a job or this and that. But there's also a difference between like, oh, this is correct.
this is something's going wrong here.
Something is going wrong.
और आपका gut भी बोलने लगता है कि ये अगर मुझे इलेक्ट्रिसिटी का बल्ब चेंज कराना है, जो भी कराना है घर में, इसकी इतनी कॉस्ट तो नहीं हो सकती.
How is it possible that you just changed my doorknob and I have to go to an ATM because the cash in my house is not enough for this? I feel like you become very like vigilant. I mean, in general, Pakistani women, all women have to be vigilant and on top of their game at all times because, you know, treacherous world. But I find being a single woman living here, I am extra vigilant. Like I am constantly looking over my shoulder of like, who's clocking my behaviors?
I think that's generally across how you have to protect for your, how you have to constantly think about your safety here, right? And I think it just becomes a lot more difficult if you're living alone in this city, because the city is also not equipped to allow a lot of people to live alone. It's a very community-based, and it's a country. The structure of the country is such कि हम community-based, घर में सबके साथ रहेंगे.
Can I ask you a question about that? So when you moved to university and you were on another continent and you were able to sort of be a person, how do you feel like that's worked into your confidence as a woman now? That like you had time to like earn your own money and figure it out and meet your bills and stuff outside of mom, dad?
That's a great question. I was somebody who was always very independent, but I think जब आप घर से बाहर जाते हो, especially when you go outside of your home at 18, you realize कि आप कितने sheltered हो और कितने privileged हो to have a supporting family, to be able to provide you everything that you require. जब आप खुद जाके अकेले रहना शुरू करते हो, as a student first, it was कि मैं कपड़े भी खुद धोऊं, कमाऊं भी खुद, खाना भी खुद पकाऊं. So it was like a bit of a shock but also a shock in terms of a realization more so that, you know what, this is what independence would feel like, to be able to control how you want, what kind of work ethic you want, how you want to manage your money, where do you want to spend, how do you want to save. So a lot of these like very important life skills started coming into into my life. And it was not always very rosy, right? I've been homeless a couple of times as a student as well, and that's part and parcel of learning. But also living alone as an individual taught me a lot of life skills that are I think that gets missed when you're living with families.
Yes.
And I'm very, very grateful for that experiences that I've had. But I do recognize that it would be 100 times more difficult in Pakistan.
Yeah. You mentioned homeless thing, and I know it makes laugh because it's like I do imagine people listening would be like, "What?" But like I've actually experienced similar things.
Yeah.
And I think that it's an interesting when you've gone through financial struggle and then you live on your own. It's a very interesting sort of thing where it's kind of, I don't know if you feel this anymore, but it's kind of like a fear. Finances and everything like that, and you have to think about it, and every decision is yours. There is a bit of a
there's
like,
obviously
fear
that
around it.
fear कि
Yeah.
कल मेरे पास कुछ भी अगर कोई भी problem आती है, do I have enough money to be able to manage it?
Yes.
Because the last thing you would want to do is ask somebody, because with financial independence there's also some sense of responsibility and accountability that comes in, right? Like you don't want to be calling your parents or calling your family constantly and to be like कि अब ये problem हो गया है, मुझे ही support कर
And
दो.
some people really don't have that option. And I feel in Pakistan, you know, some of us, we get to go to university, we get to work. Obviously, a lot of us don't. And you're as young as 8 years old.
Yeah.
And your job is now to help provide for your family. And, you know, I was saying like a lot of people, when they leave home and they come to the city, like we see so many young men, young women are out here and they're living in shared homes and this and that. If they're not able to make money and send it back, the accountability is like, so why'd you leave?
Yeah.
You could have been here. You could have been helping us.
Absolutely. And I think it's more so for women, right?
Yeah.
Like, आदमी का काम structurally ये होता है कि वो पैसे कमाएगा और घर में provide करेगा. But if a woman makes that choice to leave and to be able to support the family, and if things go not the right way, then the question is कि क्यों बोला था ना, मैंने तो बोला था. But let's go into like the cost of living as a
very big rambler.
Yeah.
Sorry, I will divert any conversation.
The cost of living alone. I do recognize that this move was a choice.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of women out there who don't have that privilege of choice, but circumstances are such that they have to make that move happen for them. But they are not aware कि शुरू कहाँ से करें.
Exactly. And so it's not a choice. A lot of times it's actually a question of saving your sanity and your safety and getting out. And, you know, I think it's incredible if Khushi say you leave the house, but you're right. A lot of times that's not the case. And the number one thing you have to start doing is finding a way to save that money a little bit, even each week, and it's so easy to say. Like, I understand circumstances aren't like that. Sometimes people don't even have a place to put that money, right? Yeah. But that is the first step in looking. The second step is, we know this as Oraan, that Facebook communities are incredible. They have so many that are actually geared towards women and helping them understand the process of moving out, finding housemates, finding people to live with, finding families that'll even help guide you. So that is a huge, huge resource, I would say.
Soul Sisters is one of them.
There's also, it's called, I don't know how I'm supposed to announce it, but if you search flatmates, and they'll only let women in, but like that one comes up. Islamabad Living is another fantastic one. And they will give you some like idea of even like, oh, by the way, this place is more welcoming to single women. So when I was looking, I did do that. I went in there and I said, where can I look that is not only welcoming to single women, but won't police single women, because I don't want to live like that. I'm not going from one mom dad to adopt a whole building of mom dads who I don't care or want their opinions on my life. And so that was another major thing, finding just safety nets, even figuring out the most cost effective way to live. Everything you can think about, money, safety, this and that. Like one of the biggest hurdles that I think stops women from genuinely moving out is the cultural thing. And like, you just don't know how someone is going to approach you and take you and, God forbid, like enact violence or do something with you just because they have an assumption of what you are as a woman. So when you were asking me like how I dealt with it, like I did have to swallow my pride quite a bit and like pull my abu in and like be like, respect me. There's a man attached to me. But like, again, I just hope that the more of us who move out and push in this direction sort of change the conversation around and small changes, you know, with our pushes and the swallowing of our pride. And the minute you shut the door and you've signed your lease and you're alone in your place, and you curse them all out.
But that the process doesn't stop there, right? One thing is moving out of your home and your comfort zone, and then the day-to-day living. So what are the struggles around that? Because there's not enough conversation around the finances around being able to live alone as well. Moving out to chalo ek bada expense hai, but then to manage day-to-day life from financial perspective, but also emotional perspective, because it is a it can be a very isolating experience as well.
Okay, so again, I just hope the listeners don't think I'm scaring anyone away from moving out. I feel bad. I do operate with a sense of, okay, a lot of my life is, you know, I don't have a car, right? That's one thing. So like getting in a Careem or getting in a whatever, an Uber, whatever have you, like, okay, one more thing I have to think about is that for some amount of time in my day, my hands are literally in someone else's. My life is in there. My safety is in there. And it's an added expense. So it's an emotional turmoil. And I believe all women know what I'm talking about, where you're just like, oh, I just need to get home, right? And then that's a financial thing because, I mean, Pakistan right now, my in-driver to work used to be around like $450, $460. It's now easily $620, $670, right? And that's a huge jump. And that's one thing I would say, like even calculating in other places that you get exploited, but at the Mandi grocery stores, like getting that, pulling those in. It's also a lot of wear and tear on you as a person. You know, and what sort of, like I was talking earlier about comforts and stuff that people hire, maybe you're used to. I opted out of all of those because I was like, I want to save money while I'm also living this life. But there's things you want to think of. How much does it actually cost to keep your home clean, to keep yourself fed, to keep the lights on, bijli ka bill, pani ka bill? I mean, the constant, what I will say is this. One thing we talk about a lot at Oraan is you have to be comfortable facing money and you have to be comfortable acknowledging your relationship in it. And when you're living on your own and there's really nowhere to hide and you have to keep the lights on, that is one of the things that I think it would be a hot tip. Before you move out, get comfortable with also facing yourself and being like, okay, you don't always make the best decisions here.
Were you comfortable with money before you made this jump and move?
I think that my thing was I was good. I could save up, but then I would spend and I'd be like, well, I saved up for this moment.
Yeah.
I've always been good about keeping a cushion room because I think if you've ever gone through, again, laughing, but like financial downfall, you're like, oh, I never want to feel like that again. But I did not have to worry about any bills other than my own phone bill. I did contribute to my household, but that was like my choice. It wasn't something I was asked to do, right? And there's a difference in that. And I acknowledge that there's a difference between feeling obligated and having to take care of your home and your parents and your stuff, which is a lot of stress, and opting to do so. So when I moved here, I was like, oh, wow. And my father was straight up like, you moved. You made the choice to abandon us.
And
now
you pay for
you
it.
figure it out. And fully, I actually respect him for not walking me through everything because he's like, grow up then. Like, figure it out. But handling bills and this and that's like my first month, I blew through money because I didn't have confidence in myself to handle things. Like, honestly, so I would pay for the convenience of it. But now, and I would, you know, earlier why I wanted to bring up like you moving out and school and being literally across the world is because it is a life skill, right? To know how to pay a bill, to know how to figure out how to even keep your bills lowered.
Thank you so much for sharing this. I think this has been a very, very insightful conversation. And I've learned a lot. And I'm sure our viewers have learned a lot as well. If you have any questions around how to manage finances when you're thinking about moving out, please let us know. We're happy to have this conversation again and give you tips and tricks in terms of management of finances. Thank you, Sabah, for having this conversation. Thank you.